All right, let me guess. You don't have enough time to practice. You're busy, you're either in school, you got a full-time job, you're a parent. You can't find enough time to sit down with the guitar to get where you want and achieve your goals with guitar playing. Well, this is very, very common. There's no way to avoid it unless you just give your whole life to guitar, but then you're probably gonna have to live under a bridge and you're gonna run out of strings or something. It's pretty much unavoidable that we're gonna have to have a job and a family at some point, and we're gonna have way less time to pick up the guitar, and it kind of leads to more things where we're not able to sit down and practice consistently. So today we're gonna be talking about some ways that I have found and shared with my students to try to overcome that, to still see progress and achieve your guitar playing goals. All right, the first thing I would recommend to help out, and there's gonna be some really, really good things later on that once you get to this point, it's gonna be massively impactful to your playing, so stick around to that. And if you have any opinions about some of these things, or you wanna add some things that you found that really helps you stay consistent, even if you have a super busy schedule, let me know down in the comments below. So the first thing is I would come up with a requirement for yourself to play guitar every day. And most of you guys are probably like, well, duh, that sounds like a great thing. And I need to define what I mean by play guitar every day. Really all I mean to start off and just play guitar every day is it could be literally picking the guitar up and let's just say doing that. Okay, done. You've played guitar today. You played a D chord. That's fine. I want you to start off and that be the minimum requirement. A lot of students I've seen are unwilling to kind of pick the guitar up unless they have, you know, a good time to get a good warm-up, get a good practice in, get all that, and they just won't pick it up. And it makes it easier to not pick it up the next day and the next day. It makes it easier to find excuses to not touch the guitar. So what I recommend is at least pick up the guitar and play one note, like, or just go, all right, that's all I had today. Play guitar. You can check off that box, you play guitar. It might be just a power chord. Sweet, you play guitar that day. Now, obviously, I want you to play way more than just that every day, but at absolute minimum, play one chord, one note. At the very least, walk by the guitar and just go, just do that. Just do something like that. I'd rather you pick the guitar up and play like a note or something like that, but try your best to find a time throughout the day to somehow just do that, okay? And I know that's not necessarily literally making you a better guitar player, but what it is gonna do is it's gonna reinforce a habit, but also a goal that you set for yourself that you accomplish every day. That goal being play guitar every day. And who doesn't wanna achieve a goal every day? So make that a goal and achieve that goal every day. Literally, the minimum is perfect. I don't care if it's literally one note or you having to strum every string open while you're walking by the guitar and it's sitting on the stand. That is enough, and I would say count that as a win of playing guitar. And what you'll find usually, especially if you're picking up and you play a chord, you're gonna wanna play another chord. If you play one note, you're probably gonna play two notes. So maybe you end up playing for 30 seconds, okay? That is to me better than being like, I don't have time today, I'm not gonna pick the guitar up at all. And then over time, what you'll find is, you know what, maybe I can pick the guitar up for 1 minute. Previously, without this being a goal, you might have just not touched the guitar for a week, but now you might pick it up for 1 minute every day. That's not a lot, but it's a good start, and it gets you achieving the goal of picking up the guitar and playing every day. If you would like to support me and this channel, go check out my Patreon. The link is in the description below. Over there, there's tons of in-depth guitar lessons with tab, also updates on different future YouTube videos and original song releases. I'm also giving away a free 30-minute guitar lesson every month. All you have to do is go sign up with my Patreon, and I'll choose the winner of the guitar lesson at the beginning of each month. Now, the next thing, you're past that, you can actually play the guitar every day for at least some period of time, is actually trying to find enough time every day to squeeze out progress in your playing. What I would recommend, it depends what your goals are, of course. What I've always been interested in is, you know, developing technique, being able to play. I like learning scales and patterns. I like doing that. It's something I enjoyed. If that's your goal, you can follow this exact plan. Come up with the minimum, like I call it daily minimums. Come up with the minimum things to do every day. For a lot of people, I always say master the pentatonic scale. You might know all the 5 pentatonic positions, but know them all and you need to master them. So a daily minimum would be to simply walk through all 5 pentatonic shapes. So say you're that guy that was never picking up the guitar and then you started picking it up playing one note and then you started playing a couple more notes. What I would recommend is get to that point. I don't know how long that took me. We could timestamp it or something, but it might have took me, I've done it a lot so I can go through a little smoother, but let's just say it took me a minute. Now just giving yourself 1 minute to run through that super important pattern, or in this case, the pentatonic scale, you have just gotten better at guitar. And say you only had time to run through one position at a time. You have like, okay, I have 5 seconds. Oh, that's all I had. Well, maybe before you eat dinner, you put something in the microwave for a minute. You're like, you know what, let me get to the next position. You know, maybe you're watching, you have like a Keurig making a coffee and it's like 30 seconds. You're like, let me get to the next position. Right? It's finding these little moments. And I'm not saying, oh, you need to practice 2 hours a day, 1 hour, 30 minutes. 10 minutes, even 5 minutes. I'm saying even less than that. Force yourself every day to pick up the guitar and play a note, and then get to the point where you have those daily minimums. If you're working on a lick, I don't know what the lick is. Let's just come up with a lick. We'll say this is the lick. All right, that's the lick I'm working on. Well, every day, at least find a time to pick up the guitar and just run through it at least once. Just go. All right, now that's kind of for the people that really are finding it difficult to find with kids or with work. It's hard to find time. I would say doing silly things like literally, I kind of wrote it up there, is if you're warming up something in the microwave, if you could pick up the guitar for a minute, 2 minutes while the microwave's warming something up, or if you've got a cup of coffee that's making, if you can pick up the instrument and run through one of your daily minimums, whether it's a song, a lick, a solo, a scale shape, chord shapes, whatever it might be, and just do it for that amount of time, that would be so impactful to your playing over the months and years. Now, teaching students over many years that have, you know, whether they're in college or they have a full-time job, they have family, all this stuff, I really try to squeeze out at least 30 minutes a day. That is kind of a starting point to make substantial progress, in my opinion. Not that, like I said, doing what I said before is going to still make you better, but 30 minutes you can really squeeze out a lot in 30 minutes if you can. And it's actually what I found to be better is, a lot of people might say, well, I don't have a 30-minute chunk to sit down and practice. And what I would recommend to someone in that situation, and I think it's actually better practice to do this, is cut it up. If you have 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 1 minute there, 2 minutes there, it sounds like, oh, I want to sit down and play guitar for 30 minutes. Oh, I don't have time, so I'm not going to do anything. Well, no, if you have 1 minute, 2 minutes there, 5 minutes, it might add up throughout the day to be 30 minutes. So I'd recommend trying to squeeze out 30 minutes when you can, if not much more, of course. And depending on what kind of phase you are in your guitar playing, I always recommend trying to balance a 50-50 ratio, meaning 50% of your guitar playing time is on things to make you a better musician and better guitar player, and the other 50 is on having fun and enjoying the music itself. So if you're playing 30 minutes a day, try to have a really refined 15 minutes of practice going on, going over the favorite songs that you're working on as your goals, solos, you know, scales, theory, learning chords, learning songs, put that in that 15-minute category. The other 15, I would say have fun. Play the songs that you already know, the solos you already know, jam to a backing track, write a song. Anything like that, I'd put that in the other kind of 50-50 ratio there for the average person. Now, if you're more in the practice zone, you might want to go 70 to 90 to 100% of the time of practice. But let's just kind of hover in that 50% range and be like, oh, I can pick the guitar right now. I need to knock out my exercises real quick. And it might literally take 2 minutes. Just run through one pentatonic scale. Okay, I got the pentatonic scale down for today. And you might, oh, I need to run through the major scale later. Okay, now I got that. And then obviously I would recommend in that kind of 30-minute ratio to practice other techniques that you have as a goal to work on. Now, in my experience, there is kind of way of practicing to get the most out of practice that I've seen with myself and many students. And cutting up the time that you play is, in my opinion, very, very beneficial. So say you had an hour. I find it typically, not always, but typically beneficial to cut it up to maybe kind of 3 sets of 20 minutes throughout the day, or 2 sets of 30 minutes throughout the day. I find that's very, very beneficial, and it's actually more beneficial than just sitting down for 1 hour. Something about working on something at one period of time and then stopping and doing something else, not even thinking about guitar, and then sitting down a little bit later and doing the same thing, it really helps you develop whatever it is you're working on much faster. And it's weird, I don't know, you would think just sitting down for one focused hour would be better. I don't see it that way. It doesn't seem like that in kind of practical experience. It doesn't seem to work that way. Cutting it up seems much, much better for whatever reason. And building on that, to me, that there's actually, throughout the day, there is kind of the optimal learning and practicing times. And that to me is in the morning and then in the evening before bed. I don't know if there's any scientific reasoning, but I found that, you know, if you can only play in the middle of the day, I'm not saying don't do that, but something about waking up within probably the first hour of waking up, getting a little bit of practice in does wonders, especially if the night before you got a little bit of practice before bed. Something about that ratio of, okay, I played this, went to bed, woke up, and kind of recapped it a little bit very soon after waking up. Something about that works together in this very cohesive way where you can not even play that very long. It might only be 30 minutes in total from the 2 practices, but it comes together in this very cohesive way, and it's going to make you a way better guitar player. And I've talked about this throughout the video, but really, if you're low on time of playing guitar, that means you've got to be a little bit more strategic and refined if you're wanting to get way, way better at guitar still. Now, if you're just trying to enjoy guitar playing and just have fun, then you should just pick the guitar up and have fun and look at it as a way of having fun. Why would you not do that? You know, you're having fun. But if you're actually trying to practice and achieve your goals on the guitar, but you have very limited time, you're going to have to be very strategic, and you're going to be very well thought out of what you need to work on and best ways of doing that. Obviously, having a guitar teacher or somebody to help you walk through different ways and maybe come up with strategies in your day-to-day life to help you become better will really help out. But spending time with strategy of what your really, really main goals is it learning the solo from Hotel California? If that's it, every moment that you can play guitar, you know, assuming you're at this very limited amount, you need to be practicing that song for you can achieve that goal, right? So yeah, be as strategic as you can if you're on a limited time schedule. Let me know down below if any of these things resonate with you or if you have any bonus things you'd like to add. Now, going on to the last thing. I don't really know how to fully put this into words. Some of you might have already experienced this or will soon, hopefully. But I found that we can kind of practice guitar at a certain point without even having a guitar in our hands. That sounds weird. Practice guitar, no guitar in your hands. How do we do that? One side of it is very much comes down to your ear, and the other side kind of comes down to your mind, okay? What I mean is, I personally, and I've done this in the past, I can practice scales in my mind, okay? And it sounds weird, but I can run through any key, any pentatonic scale in my mind, and it's pretty much identical to me actually doing it. There's been licks in the past. I'll work on a lick, and I'll just put the guitar down. I'll think about the lick. I'll play the lick literally in my mind, and then I get better at it. Same thing with major scales, learning chords, learning theory. You can literally kind of envision playing the guitar. It sounds so weird. And I promise you'll literally get better. I don't know how to explain it. This is kind of where it's weird, but like, you know, if we took this pentatonic shape, well, I can literally just, I can't demonstrate it for you guys, but in my mind, I can play that. So my point is, if you're learning the Hotel California solo and you don't have time to play the guitar necessarily very much today, play it in your mind. Put the song on, listen to the record, and almost envision yourself playing it while you're listening to it. It sounds weird. It sounds like it's going to do nothing. It sounds useless, but I promise it's kind of a form of practice. And as you get better and better at guitar, it kind of becomes more and more an effective way of practice. The next thing, building on that, is developing your ear will substantially, it will allow you to hear a song and you'll be kind of playing it, like I said, while listening to it. You're like, oh, that's a G chord. Oh, I can tell that's a D chord. Okay, that's E minor right there. Oh, he's soloing. Oh, that sounds like E minor pentatonic first position. And you can hear, you get to a point where you hear somebody soloing and it's they're doing this, say. You'll listen to it and you're like, oh, I know exactly how that's doing. And then you're literally, at that point, you're becoming a better guitar player and a better musician, and your ear is strengthening. And like I said, some of you guys might not be at that point yet, but practicing and developing your ear as much as possible by listening to music and by challenging your ear to try to develop it as much as possible will allow you to literally not have a guitar in your hand and know exactly how a song's going, or be able to learn a song on the spot or a solo on the spot. You can listen, most people after just a few years of playing kind of rock and roll blues solos can hear a guitar player go like this. Right, that's like, those phrases right there are like classic lead guitar rock blues phrases that are done a million times, and they'll continue to be done a million times. You can hear that though, you develop your ear, you learn that. And then you listen to a record or a song that you want to learn, and you're like, oh, he's just doing that lick. Oh, I know how to do that. You don't even need the guitar. You can kind of listen to it. You can hear open, like a G chord. After a while, just playing guitar, learning a lot of songs. If someone's playing that chord, an open G chord, you're like, oh, that's a G chord, 100%. I already know it. And then you hear a solo, and you hear an open E come after. You're like, oh, I know exactly what's going on. And then you hear a solo, and you probably can narrow it down that, oh, they're right here. Right, and that just obviously comes from developing in the ear, challenging the ear, and really leaning into using your ear as much as possible. And that literally allows you to, once you develop it over time, you don't even need to pick the guitar up to become a better guitar player and better musician. Sounds very weird and abstract, but I promise you'll get to that point to where you actually, the better you get at guitar, the less time you actually have to spend practicing guitar. You can still play as much as you want. I'm very glad that after years of practicing that it gets to that point to where you don't have to just keep practicing. There's things you have to do to maintain, and you still want to get better, but just developing that ear alongside it makes life so much easier, and you're going to be a way better guitar player because of it, even if you have zero time throughout the day to practice. All right, let me know down below what you think of today's video. Please add something new. I probably missed something, but these are some of the things that I've experienced over the years myself and with my students to try to figure out ways to get the most out of the least amount of time someone has to practice guitar and become a great guitar player. And I hope I gave you some kind of tips and tricks to kind of squeeze some time and practice time in so you can continue practicing even when you feel like you don't have any time. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you back next time.